cooked. The women who cooked Italy, a journey through time, fire, and love before Italy. There was the kitchen, and before the kitchen, there was a woman feeding the world. The history of Italian cuisine is not just a story of ingredients, recipes, and flavors. It is the story of women, of hands that kneaded bread before names were written, of mothers who stirred pots while men wrote history, of voices that whispered recipes not to be published but remembered, because in Italy, food is not just sustenance, is memory, identity, poetry, and resistance. And behind every timeless dish, there is the pulse of a woman echoing through the centuries. Ancient origins, the first women of taste long before the word Italy existed. Women were shaping the culinary soul of the peninsula. In Etruscan villages, they prepared meals as sacred rituals using olive oil, herbs, and honey to celebrate the fertility of the land. The goddess Demeter had many faces here. Sometimes she was a farmer's daughter, sometimes a mother stirring grain in clay pots. In Roman times, the kitchen was ruled by women and enslaved cooks who blended spices from distant lands. We rarely hear their names, but they were the silent architects of flavor, turning grain into bread, milk into cheese, and scraps into survival. They learned to do much with little, and this, more than any empire, is what endured. The Renaissance, when cooking became art, while Florence painted its ceilings and sculpted its marble gods. Women continued to paint with what they had: tomatoes, basil, garlic, olive oil. Catherine de' Medici, often remembered as a queen, was also a culinary ambassador. When she left Florence to marry the King of France, she brought with her cooks, knives, and recipes, a secret army of palates. From her kitchen came sauces, creams, and etiquette that would later shape French gastronomy. But her legacy began in the Tuscan kitchens, where women prepared caciucco and ribollita while humming to the rhythm of wooden spoons. The Renaissance was the age of Leonardo and Michelangelo, but in every palace, convent, and humble home, women practiced their own art form, the art of transformation. They transformed poverty into elegance, sadness into ritual, hunger into communion. A pot of soup could contain philosophy. A loaf of bread could contain faith. And, in a sense, they were philosophers of taste, transforming matter into meaning. The mothers of tradition in every region of Italy, women became the guardians of identity. In Sicily, they mixed cultures into caponata and arancini. In Naples, they created ragouts that cooked for hours, a love letter to patience. In Bologna, they taught daughters how to roll pasta so thin it could fly. The kitchen became a form of prayer. Each dish said, "I exist, I create, I transform the world around me." War, famine, and the art of survival. Then came war, hunger, silence. Men left for the front. Women stayed and reinvented survival. With almost no flour, they made gnocchi from potatoes and hope. With scraps, they fed villagers. With love, they kept the soul of Italy alive. They didn't wear crowns or lead armies, but they led generations. After the war, women rebuilt Italy one meal at a time. Food became memory again, and memory became resistance. Grandmothers, living libraries of Italy. Every Italian family has one. La Nonna, the grandmother, who knows exactly how much salt to add. She doesn't follow recipes. She follows her heart. Her kitchen is a museum of emotions, the smell of coffee, the bubbling sauce, the table that has seen generations eat and forgive. When she passes down a recipe, she's teaching more than cooking, she's teaching how to live. Because Italian food is not about ingredients, it's about presence, about being fully their body, heart, and memory in the act of creation. The modern woman between kitchen and creation. But today, Italian women are chefs, writers, thinkers, and creators. In Rome, Christina Bowerman became a Michelin-starred chef. In Naples, women lead slow food movements. In Tuscany, farmers revive ancient grains. But beyond fame, millions of women still cook not for recognition, but for love. Because to feed someone is to say, you belong. The philosophy of the Italian table. To understand women in Italian cuisine, we must understand the table. It's where stories are told, laughter becomes an ingredient, and silence becomes comfort. Bread speaks of patience, wine speaks of time, pasta speaks of connection, and olive oil, the golden essences, the philosophy itself, simple, pure, eternal. The invisible artists. Many of Italy's greatest recipes have no author. They were born from women who never signed their names. The nun who created Turan, the widow who sold cannoli to survive, the fisherwoman who cooked black risotto from the sea's ink. They turned food into culture and hunger into poetry. These are the women who fed the world's soul. The fire that never went out. The Italian kitchen has always been both battlefield and sanctuary. Women turned silence into aroma, oppression into nourishment, repetition into ritual. Their cooking was literature written with heat and salt, and in every pot there's still a trace of rebellion against hunger, against erasure, against invisibility. Legacy and reflection. To speak of women in Italian cuisine is to speak of Italy's soul. They showed the world that cooking is not just love, it is memory, it is freedom. Their kitchens were temples long before feminism had a name. And maybe that is why Italian food moves the world, because it carries truth, that beauty can be born from necessity, and care is the purest form of intelligence. A whisper from the kitchen. If you walk through an Italian village at sunset, you'll smell the garlic, the tomato, the bread. You'll hear a woman singing softly while stirring the sauce. She doesn't know her song carries centuries. She doesn't know her gestures are history. But she keeps cooking because the fire that began long ago never went out. It burns in every kitchen, in every woman who feeds others. She didn't cook for fame. She cooked to remember. And in doing so, she made the world remember her. Subscribe to History of Women in Culinary, where flavor becomes memory, and every dish tells the story of a woman who changed the world.